Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry for the slight delay in the start of this demo. We had another thing that was running a little bit long. But we're here now, and we're with you, and it's all going to be fantastic, promise. So today, this is the next in the series of user interface design chats that we started. You'll remember last time we talked a little bit about what we might do with the host, the host edit page, and future plans for that. Today we're going to go over to the Katello side of things, and we're going to have a look at the fun that is content hosts. So I'm welcoming back Roxanne, but also Walden as well, to talk with us about that. The usual ways to get involved: Freenode IRC or the YouTube live chat. Both of these I'll be keeping an eye on, so do jump in with your questions as we go. Unlike last time, I don't think we have any wireframes for the new possible designs, but we are going to go through, what things look like today, problems with that, things we could do, options we could take, just have a general chit chat about how we can make these things better. Just a reminder, there's probably going to be some text and small UIs and things, so do hit that quality up on the YouTube stream. We sadly can't control the default, so check that settings box and set it up to something nice and high quality so you can have a good experience of what we're looking at. Okay, so with that, with my intro out of the way, and before I collapse in a fit of coughing because I'm still not fabulously well, I'm going to hand over to Walden to get us started. But he's muted, so I can't hear him.
Yeah, sorry about that.
There we go. Yay.
All right. So can you see my content host page? Hopefully, it's a reasonable size and everything.
Yeah, I think as long as people do the settings change, that should be okay.
Okay. So yes, and when Katello is enabled on a Foreman box, we have content host in addition to host. As Greg was saying, we were looking at trying to merge the two in the future, but for now, we're just going to look at what we have here. Basically, a content host is kind of a superset of a host. So it has some additional things relating to content. Here we have kind of like a details page that has all kinds of information about the content host. A little bit of provisioning details. Got.
Did you forget to mute your phone?
No, because I don't normally use this Google account, and when I used it, I got a call on my Google Fi phone, and that.
Fair enough.
Is it worth pointing out that you've got some pretty awesome breadcrumbs there, and there's the infinite scroll on the main page is not there, which I think is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think that's been upstream at least for quite some time now. Getting rid of the infinite scroll and the new two-pane view we had.
And just so for anybody who's interested, I talked to a lot of users. I've been actually doing kind of some traveling, going on site to guys, and they're very excited about the removal of infinite scroll.
Yeah, so
it's always good to hear when the changes we make go down well, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of just going to poke around this UI, and Roxanne, if you see anything you want to take another look at, just stop me. Subscriptions for when people upload a manifest and subscribe their content host to a subscription. We got a list of events here, it looks like. We have a concept of host collections, which is a little bit different from host groups. It's basically a way to perform a bunch of different actions on a set of hosts. here. I mean, you'll see this pattern everywhere, this list remove and add that we use.
Yeah, and I think that might, I have a feeling, like, and this is just kind of more of a gut feeling, and that's something I've been able to investigate more, but I think I've said this before on some of the other demos. I think there could be a better interaction for that, but I can't say what it is at this moment. So if anybody has any ideas, I'm all ears.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. I know that this isn't a good interaction, and there is probably a better one, but I haven't given it enough thought to come up with a solution yet.
It's almost like I feel like they could be combined into one list.
Exactly.
Indicators that show you what has been, what's actually there, and what you could, and then, like, I don't know if it's a switch or a toggle that allows you to remove or add. Obviously, it's a big discussion, but.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's something that that we should look into doing, because, like I said, we use this pattern everywhere, and it's not always obvious.
Well, I think what's problematic about it for me is that when a user gets here, they cannot just peruse a list of everything they've got and its status. They actually have to toggle between two to discover that.
You almost have to know if the thing is a member of, or if the thing already has the thing that you're trying to add before you can. Yeah, no, I agree.
I had a similar thought about this. Like, I'm not a fan of the 2-tab interface either, but is there a reason we can't just have one tab and then like an add button, and when you click it, it brings up like a pop-up of like the same thing, but let you, like, the whole search dialog to let you add stuff?
Well, yeah, that's what we were saying, like having them compiled into one list with a sort of easier mechanism to be able to add or remove.
At the risk of sounding facetious, isn't that like the base Foreman UI? Certainly, there's usually an add a new button at the top of each of those pages as well, right? So that would be nice from a consistency point of view. I agree. Brian's trolling you, by the way. He says you should change collections to save searches and tags.
Yeah.
No, let's not do that.
All right, moving on. Here's just a quick list of tasks that have happened on this content host, kind of similar to a lot of other things.
Apparently he's correcting me. He wasn't trolling me. He's quite serious. You should use save searches and tags.
I should use save search.
For this, yes, he thinks it should be moved to save searches and tags. So apparently this has been talked about for a while. But at least that's what Justin's saying anyway. There's a few people who I think should probably be on this call talking if they want to join.
So I think, and I had some informal discussions with you earlier, but the search, the whole ecosystem of search is, I think, a larger issue that needs to be addressed universally.
Can you go into any more detail?
So again, I hear a lot from customers in that it's acting inconsistently, and the lag between what you're typing and what the sort of syntax that shows up below it is not clear enough to them. And so they don't always know what to search by, and sometimes labels, which actually I can show you. If you go into details, click that details tab. Yeah, see that where it says type, KVM?
Right.
I believe it's this, I don't want to say 100% certainty. I believe this is the page. That word type, they're trying to search by that because that is the label they're presented with. So they're assuming that's what they can search by, that parameter, and it's not displaying the results that they. How many content hosts do you have?
Right, yeah.
See, so that there's a few places I think this has happened. I clearly have not tested every single label, but those are the types of inconsistencies that are kind of bugging them. We
were chatting about this in the pre-show, though, and then search in general, I think, has a few of these problems across the whole application, not just within Katello plugin as well.
Right, exactly. That's why I want to say this goes into a larger holistic thing.
Yeah, I can see how that'd be frustrating, though.
Right, and so they don't, now that they not only don't know what to search for, but the general consensus I get is that they don't learning about that search and what the parameters are in the syntax is difficult for them. They love the power. They love how powerful it is. They love that there's so many options to search for. They just don't always know exactly how to use it, and then the consistency for the results on top of it.
Yeah, I don't. It's difficult to know where to draw the line. I mean, like, should we be able to search on every single kind of every single column in the database? Because I mean, that's kind of, we're displaying a lot of information here. I mean, should they be able to search on 2 sockets? Should they be able to search on 5.67 gigabytes of RAM? I mean, it's hard to know.
Well, that's where, there probably does need to be more work done on determining, hey, when they do search, these are the attributes they care most about. I don't know if they care about the number of CPUs, right?
Right.
Like, I don't know if I see your question, but perhaps it could be defined by the user, getting their opinion to say, what do you actually search on? Is anything on this page relevant to you, right?
In fairness, because of the tool that we use for search, most of that is already searchable. You just have to know what you want to search on, and that's the problem. It's not that it isn't searchable; it's that you've got to know what to type in, and because the scope search system pulls out properties automatically and makes them searchable. So, but it will be based on what it's called in the code rather than what is shown in the UI, and that's where you get these inconsistencies. So yeah, there's probably a whole show we could do on like all of the various places where search has gone a bit weird.
I mean, we have this thing, that if you don't type any, I don't know if Foreman is the same, but I made this change in Katello, maybe a year ago, where if you just click in here, it'll just show you all the various things, and yeah, like I was trying to see if the type thing that Roxanne was talking about was in this list, but I don't see it offhand. But like you were saying, Greg, maybe it's named something else.
Well, exactly. I would guess, given that we know the answer, which is KVM, I would guess it's either hypervisor or hypervisor host. But I could well be wrong on that. I'm just guessing.
I scrolled right past those without seeing them. Yeah.
That's not hypervisor is like a true or false thing, and then hypervisor host is searching for guests of a host.
Right, okay. But that's the thing, right? We don't know ahead of time. And I saw this in Core Foreman the other day. I was messing around with the roles system, and some of the possible filters for roles don't really explain what that thing you're searching on is. And so, yeah, there's a lot of places where we pull raw data out to be able to search on it, but unless you already know what it is, it's not very useful. Right. But yeah, search in general, I think we could do a whole show on search, right? So
yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to derail this train.
Well, that's all right. UX discussions are useful, right? But since we're supposed to be talking about content hosts, I figured I'd try and pull it back a little bit.
Yeah. So yeah, host collections task. Here we've got.
Just really on that task thing, those progress bars are all green. I feel like they should switch to something else instead of just sitting on a huge green bar.
Yeah, I think
personal opinion there. Maybe, well, professional opinion.
I think that's fair. It is kind of weird to, especially.
It's also not displaying even what it is. It doesn't even say it's 100% complete, right?
Exactly.
It makes me think of old Microsoft copying files thing that just sits at 99% and never finishes.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, I was just about to say the same thing. Because I'm looking at this and I think it's 100%, but I mean, who? Yeah, it's not clear because it doesn't say completed anywhere here. Yeah, so that's a good thing to fix there. Good, easy thing to fix. So here, basically, the way to install packages. This will probably error, I think, because I already have it installed. I just realized that after I typed it in, but it's just a way to update and install packages on the content host. This is just a list of everything that's installed on the content host. Same thing, you can search here for the name and in VRA. So I thought I had a package in here available for upgrade, but I guess not. But basically, it will just show you things here that could be upgraded on your system, and that kind of also ties into Errata a little bit. Oh, you know what I think just happened is because I guess installing the package actually updated it and got rid of my Errata that I had there. So let me see if I can't just get this, if I can't just downgrade this package real quick. Sorry about that. Should have typed any other name other than Walrus.
So I guess while you're doing that, one thing I've seen on this is, I don't see it here, and maybe that's just because it's the Katello one, but for, I've heard customers complain about context, so they commit an action, like trying to do a bulk action, for example, on content hosts, and after the action's completed, it spits them back out to the main table without their selection. So if they have to do something kind of over and over again, this is my understanding, they have to go through this whole selection process or search all over again to do it. It doesn't keep them right back. It doesn't take them right back to the selections that they were on.
That I think should no longer be the case.
Okay, so that'd be awesome if that was fixed.
Because I'm doing this now in a modal. I'm just going to enter something in and let it. So, now it'll just spit them back out on this page, and all of these various things are now modals. I'm not a big fan of this kind of confirmation, but it is there. It's all these things that we have in various places, which I've been removing these alerts that push the whole page down. I really dislike that, but you'll notice that we're now in Katello Master using the toast notifications instead of those green boxes that pop the entire page down.
That's awesome. I have to tell you that so there are themes, right? When I talk to Phil on these customers, there's themes that come up, and one of it is like activation keys. Every time they change one, it pushes the entire page down, and then they're misclicking on rows. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it's highly annoying, and it is fixed in master. So that's good. But yeah, I think that the problem that you just brought up about the bulk actions, Roxanne, should be fixed everywhere, because we're now using these modals instead. But I did reinstall the old version of this package, downgraded it. So yeah, you can see here that this package is marked for upgrade on the content host, so I can upgrade it there. But I'm not going to, just because I want to also show you this errata page. Because this package is part of this errata, it displays here. And here I can select this errata and apply it. And drop me on this task page, and hopefully this.
So I think we brought this up before, by the way, but this task bar right there, instead of just showing this graphic moving, it would be so awesome if we could show a percentage or a some completed out of total.
Yeah, it would honestly be even better if we could provide some information about what was actually going on. I think, like if it was telling you what steps it was taking in the process as well. For people who are familiar.
Yeah.
So if we could do that, then we could theoretically also show where, at what step that it failed. Because any transparency would probably be pretty valuable.
Yeah, and if it were to fail, there's always this Foreman task thing, which I don't know if we've talked about in a demo. I can't remember, but this would be probably a good topic of demo at some point in the future. The Foreman task. But
I think we've done it. I think we've done that one. Yeah.
Possibly not externally. Don't get. I don't remember spending too much time on the tasks console upstream, which this obviously is. I mean, I recognize it, but I don't think we've spent the largest amount of time talking about it. Certainly. Could we borrow from remote execution here? Because that does a pretty good job of bringing back, sort of command line output from things that are running and so on and so forth.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if I'm the best person to answer that question, but possibly. I was going to say possibly.
Yeah, I don't really have a lot more to say because it just occurred to me there's a similarity there. So.
Yeah. One thing you'll notice here is that where there was a errata listed here earlier, it's gone, and it's no longer showed on here as something to be done. Honestly, I don't even know what traces are. And here, this will show you things that are available through the subscriptions. And in this case, we're showing repository pages within the product name Zoo. I feel like this should be a link to the repository. I'm not really sure why it's not, because this will take you to the products page for this.
Because it's not actually a repository for Red Hat content. It's a set of repositories. Like for custom, it wouldn't make sense to link for Red Hat.
Right. Yeah, because this is repository sets. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good point. I kind of showed the bulk stuff earlier. Can kind of just go through those real quick. Yeah, this just allows me to add or remove to a host collection. Once that's done, this updated is not. I just realized it's not entirely clear. I mean, I guess it tells you that it did it, but the UI here doesn't update, so you don't see this number increase. So maybe.
Yeah, probably need to.
Yeah, so maybe you're not sure that. Go ahead.
I was going to say, you may want to show the actual Gmail style select all when you're done with this. So.
Oh, on here. Is that where are you talking about on this page?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so if I actually had more than one content host here, say I had 21 and we're showing 20 per page, this will just allow me to select all the content hosts and not just those on this first page, and then go and perform.
So wait, I'm sorry, explaining it. That allows you to select everything, even if it was on other pages.
Yeah, so you know how Gmail works when you hit the select all, and it says if you want to select all of these messages, hit this. I'm actually
there's a difference, right, between select all, as in the 20 you've got on this page, and select all.
Yeah. And I'm looking at this right now, and I wonder if there's a better way to display this. I'm not sure I like the just this thing up on top of the table. Maybe there's a better way. I'm not sure, but
yeah, I can help you with that.
yeah, I mean, that should be a pretty minor thing to make look a little bit better. While minor, you know, these types of things add up if they're all over the place and give the perception that the application isn't polished. So.
Yeah, it's also very unnoticeable. I've seen a lot of users not even realize it was there.
That's what I was wondering, because if you think about this, right, you've got a select checkbox on the left. You've got the indicator that you have something selected on the top right, and then we just stuck something in the middle here. And maybe there's some kind of grouping or alternate, like you were saying, one that could be done to make it a little more intuitive, right?
Yeah.
Because your eye's going to go to where you already knew the selections were occurring, and we just threw a new one, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, maybe it makes sense to throw it in the table underneath the columns, for instance. I don't know. But let's see. I think I already showed you that. And this is basically, let me see, get this errata back so we have something to look at. This is basically, the errata thing here is basically the same as, oh yeah, I might have to, actually hitting Y on the yum install in my terminal might help. So here's kind of the same as the details page within the content host, just gives you the ability to install an errata here. I guess yeah, this thing drives me crazy. Again, takes you to the task. The lack of breadcrumbs here is noticeable, considering I would like to go back and.
Yeah, if we could, anytime we can avoid having to use the browser back button, giving them that breadcrumb option to go back is always going to be preferred to them.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure why they're not showing up here, but it's definitely something that we should fix.
I don't know when's a good time to jump in. We do have one question sitting waiting.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
So Raman was asking, if you go to packages install, is that a full table of all available packages for installation, like right now on that host? Is that sort of up to date?
Okay, so if you go to installed or the app.
So I'm just rereading his question. So you can install a package, right? So you can say go and install foo on my host right now.
Right.
But where does that list what's providing that list of available packages to be installed?
So this available packages here, I think that's what we're talking about. This is just
better, isn't it?
This is just a list of things that are already installed that need upgrades.
So it doesn't maintain any list of installing new packages.
No, I don't believe. No, there's not a list of.
I think it's under Yum Actions he's talking about.
Say it again.
Go to packages. Go and then Yum Actions. Right. So you can install things from here, right?
You can.
It's the equivalent of just doing a yum install block.
So you don't have any. You don't have any. I'll just say I'm just repeating what I'm saying in chat, basically. So.
Yeah. We don't have a list of all packages that are available to install on this content host in this UI here.
Sure. He did also ask the question, why not, if there's a reason for that, but it might just be because.
Maybe you can speak to that, Justin. I'm not.
No one's asked for it.
Oh, that sounds fair.
Okay. So I didn't know if there was a technical reason why we couldn't do it.
No, it should be possible.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Bugs welcome.
PR's welcome.
also PR's welcome. Yeah.
No, it's actually now that it's been mentioned, I could definitely see be used for it for sure.
It's just the equivalent of Yum search, right? I mean,
yeah. And here's Roxanne's favorite lifecycle environment selecting thing.
Yay!
This just allows you to change your. I really dislike this interaction here.
It also breaks. I've seen it break a lot.
Oh yeah, it'll definitely break if. I don't know if this is if this resizing my screen works on Google Hangouts, but
yeah, it does. And ooh.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, you don't have to resize your screen to do it, right? Like when we have some of those layouts that have 2 columns essentially on the page, and it's got like a 6-step, 5 steps, and it's crammed into one side of the page, it breaks.
Yeah. Yeah. So this and just the interaction is very confusing, especially on. Yeah, there you go. Especially on this page here, where if I change my content, or I'm sorry, well, it would help if I had some content views, but
you could have multiple, right? You could have multiple lifecycle graphics appear.
You can, and I mean this one's only 2 lifecycle environments deep. I mean, if I had a production after this test, this would be even worse. If I had more environments, say I had a stage environment, or, who knows. Yeah. But it's very confusing when you click on the lifecycle environment, then this thing pops up. But it's just all. I've watched people use this for the first time, and they were definitely confused. So that this interaction of.
Do we think that a graphic is necessary for this, or do we think just having a drop down with the different environments in the correct order would suffice? This is just an open-ended question.
I think the reason it was done this way originally was because it seemed like visualizing the flow was important. I think it's definitely a decision that could be revisited.
Could you maybe even just indent that list? I'm thinking something along the lines of what you get in Redmine when you look at the projects view, right? So you have sub-projects underneath top level and they get indented so you can see that one thing follows from another. So you could still do a drop down, but with indents and might show what belongs to what. I don't know. I'm just kind of randomly spitting ideas out.
Yeah, no. So what I deal with is that I've seen environments that have 4 or 5 of these life cycle graphics in them with varying number of environments, and it's a lot happening on the page. I mean, it takes up massive amounts of space, and I don't have an answer right now. I haven't thought about it enough. Is that the best way to do it?
I think a tree only really works where you have lots of different things belonging at different levels. Like, you got something at the top and then 2 things under that, 1 thing under one of them. Whereas this is really just a straight line for each thing, right? It flows from A to B to C.
Exactly. It's a stream. So everything flows.
Perhaps a tree, indented tree isn't quite such a great idea, but something along those lines might work.
Yeah, I mean, here you go. Here's 2 different paths, and yeah, it gets pretty ugly. And again, I'm not a fan of the way that this this whole thing is. But let's see what else. Well, I don't have any releases. Sorry, this is a relatively new sandbox. I don't have everything here. Here you can manage subscriptions. All of these pages are quite similar to the ones that I showed you within the content host itself. It just allows you to perform these actions on more than one content host. Same thing here, the page that we just saw. So, I mean, do this thing.
So I don't want to go back. I do want to go back to this, which is why I'm going to open my mouth. The select all. What if we had a tri-level toggle on that checkbox? First checkbox marks the whole page. Second one marks everything. Third obviously disables everything.
Or
how do you make it clear that that's what it's doing though? If it's just a checkbox.
Or that's phase 2. No, we can. I think we can do something there.
There's also, I've seen, I think Gmail does this as well. They have a select with a drop down when you click on it. Or, I'm sorry, a checkbox with a drop down when you click on it.
Sorry, little things that I just couldn't think about.
Yeah, no,
but they make a difference. So.
And then, the ability to remove the host here. One thing I didn't show is this page, which is register a host, which really just gives you a list of instructions to do, because a lot of these, well, all of these things have to happen on the host itself. So it's kind of just a list of what to do to get a content host registered. Nothing too.
I guess there's not a lot you can do to improve that, right? Because by definition, this is a host that doesn't exist in the system yet, so we can't automate it.
Right.
Right.
I mean, there probably is some things we can do once, maybe from the Foreman side. Well, not from the Foreman side, but part of the workflow in Foreman. Perhaps there is a way once it's provisioned to go.
There is actually. There are a few things you could do, and I'm just thinking out loud here. But at a very basic level, for a long time, we've had the ability to pull a script that's specifically tailored to a host, right? It's a template. So we already have templates for things like Kickstart and Pixie Linux and things like this. But you can just pull a generic bash script. We had an example back in 2012 of using it to rewrite the grub thing, so you can do a reinstall of a host without having access to any kind of network install, and you get grub to rewrite itself using this script. It's really clever. But the point is, if you can pull a script from Foreman on a host that isn't registered to Foreman yet, which is, or at least is created as a Foreman host, but not a content host, right? So Foreman host exists. You can pull a script and have it do the rest. So when we get more of that integration going, there's going to be tons of ways in which we can try and tackle that.
Yeah, exactly. This would be a great thing to do when we look at unifying the UI for both of these.
Yeah.
Is that when you go through what will hopefully be a wizard to create the host in Foreman, maybe there's just an option somewhere in that flow to also make it available for content-related actions. And then, because it would be great if all of this could just become automated, so you don't have to do this on the host itself.
Yeah, for sure. That's got to be doable. It's got to be doable.
Yeah. Well, since we have 10 more minutes, I'll try to just show host collection.
I thought very quickly, I invited Brian and Justin to come on and correct me when I said he was trolling earlier. So I don't know if they want to come back to that and just maybe explain a little bit about what they meant.
Put him on the spot.
Yeah.
All right, I'll jump in. I would argue that the host collection is a valuable way to find a set of hosts that look the same and feel the same, and that everywhere else in the UI, we're trying to promote search as a way to group. So it feels like what we call host collections today is effectively a saved search.
Oh, I see.
If that is the case, the question then becomes, do we go to a full-fledged saved search concept, or do we add something like tagging where you can say this is a foo, and then you can search based on that tag?
Yeah, my response has always been that host collections are a static grouping, so purely getting rid of host collections is not sufficient unless all customers today can replace their host collections with a search. So you do need some sort of tagging mechanism to replace that static grouping.
Can I just clarify? Can I just clarify? When you say you view most things as saved searches, are we talking specifically within Katello here?
No, I would go across. I would argue that I think bookmarks are an underutilized feature of Foreman core.
I agree, but I would say that that's a completely different thing to say talking about a host group, for example, which has a dedicated set of information that goes with it.
Agreed. So host groups are different, I think.
And that to me is in my head. Obviously, my knowledge of Katello is considerably lower, just because I've got to keep tabs on tons of stuff. And the analogy to me for host collection, I immediately think host group. That's kind of where I'm trying to draw parallels.
Well,
maybe I'm wrong in that.
It's confusing that we have both host collections and host groups, content host and host. So
we are where we are.
It'd be nice to get rid of them, and
I guess what I'm trying to understand is a host collection analogous to a host group in the content world, or is it literally just a saved search?
It's literally just a grouping of hosts. There's
a static grouping.
Yes, there's no additional information associated with it like there is a host group.
Right, but it's that static bit that matters, right? That when you create 5 new hosts tomorrow, they're not going to be part of your host collection unless you go and update it. Yeah,
correct.
Right. And is that important
to people? So you can argue that they are orthogonal. So a host group, I think you could argue, is probably a better definition would be a recipe, if you were to really go back to the beginning of the world.
Yes, I mean I would because I would describe it as a collection of defaults.
Fair enough.
Because it's usually used for provisioning. But yes, you're not far off. That sounds fair.
Right. So if we think of host groups today as a day 0 concept, or day 1 concept, you do get some value out of finding a machine later based on how it was provisioned. I think host collections are more day 2, day 3, right? I want to look at them and find them easily, so I think if you combine that with the fact that searching is underutilized, bookmarks are underutilized in Foreman Core, I would love to see a model as we bring content hosts and hosts together that we deprecate collections in favor of a better search metaphor throughout the product, or a search feature throughout the product.
Well, it does sound like we're going to have to do a whole episode on search anyway, from what we were talking about earlier. But I mean, I guess the question that I then have is the static part important to people, to users? Is it the fact that if I bring 5 new hosts tomorrow that match some of my host collections, should they be in it automatically or should they not?
But can we fix this problem with some kind of labeling mechanism? Then it would still be static, and we would also get rid of the confusion that exists between host collections and host groups.
And so I think the answer to your question, Walden, is yes. And I think, Greg, the answer to your question is yes. But I think Justin was correct when he stated there is a use case for a static set of machines that I create and I manually update. I think there's also value for, show me all of the machines that fit the search criteria. So to Justin's point, I don't think you can get rid of host collections until there's some means of creating a static search result.
Yeah, and that's tagging. That's what you were saying earlier, right?
Or labeling, whatever.
Tags and labels. It feels semantics.
And these are used quite a bit for authorization. So I create a host group with these 10 systems that this guy can manage, or this group of people can manage.
Well, I would love to see this replaced with labeling. As many of these menu items that I can help remove from our menu, I would definitely be in favor of.
I would actually be interested to see tags, labels, whatever you want to call them. I would love to see that come in for something that seems manageable, because a year ago or more, we floated the idea of trying to do taxonomies with tags, and that's a huge idea, right? And the idea of doing it for something small and testing it and getting that in there and trying it out, that has some appeal to see if it can be used in other places.
Yeah.
So I'd be in favor of that as well, just from a point of view of that there may well be other places in Foreman that we can use that. So yeah.
Since we're here and since we have 5 minutes, I'm just gonna. I think I can run through this real quickly. So basically, all the things I just showed you on the content host page are the same here, and they just use this host collection.
What's up with those buttons?
Huh? Say that again, please.
On the modal, what was up with those buttons?
What? How they're spaced, or?
Yeah.
That's a bit weird.
That is weird. Was it like that on the content host page too? Can't remember. I think that these use the same Yeah, I was about to say they use the same code, so it should be the same. But yeah, we should fix that. That's ugly. But what I was saying is like these all use the exact same modals that the content host page uses. And in fact, how this works is it sends a search to the bulk API with the host collection ID. So it's basically almost already there, minus the labeling. Does that make sense? Hopefully I explained that well. So whenever I do something here, when it sends the bulk action, it just sends everything, all the content host within this host collection by sending the host collection ID to search on. So it literally already is just a search whenever you apply something. Here we have this ugly thing again. And like I said, this is all the same, the exact same as on the content host page. You can copy a host collection, something else. That will copy all the content host in it, as you can see here.
Another question.
Sure.
So if you're on blah, it says there's a drop down with select actions on the right hand corner, and then there's also an actions column.
Yep. Yeah, it probably makes sense for all of these to go in here. I'm not sure why we didn't do that when I rewrote this page to move it out of new 2-pane. I'm not sure why I didn't do that. I feel like there was some discussion around it, but
yeah, it just is. Yeah, I see the reasoning behind both, but having both there is unreasonable because it's inconsistent.
I agree, and that's something too that should be easy to fix. So I think we just got to figure out which one we want and then move to it.
So we just have like 2 minutes left. If there's any last, like I'll need a few seconds to wrap up. So if you've got any last thing you want to show off, but we literally have just a few seconds.
Yeah, I'm gonna share this thing. This resource switcher that we just added, I don't know, maybe a couple months ago, that allows you to switch between items within the same grouping. So you notice it switched me over to blah on the same page that I was on. This is on all of our pages now that have tables. If I had more items in here, then you can scroll and you can go to the various pages. You can do a little.
Yeah, and just, Walden, I cheated and went into your sandbox and showed some people this, some users, and they're feeling pretty good about it. I'll be interested to see when they interact with it more, but so far they like it.
I think I just found a little bug for me to fix there, but anyway, I think that's pretty much it for content host and host collections. Sorry I was a little late to this demo.
That's right. These things happen, and it's a fairly informal chat. The idea is just to try and get some idea of where we're at and get some feedback, right? So that I think we've had some good voices in. I'll switch to my closing slide. There we go. So yeah, it's been great chatting with people. It's this obviously will go to YouTube, and I'll punt it out to the mailing list and Twitter and things, and hopefully we'll get some more feedback. But yeah, it is what it is, right? We just need to keep pushing forward and improving things. And generally, we have sensible ideas and people seem to like them. It's not very often that people turn around and go, "That's a terrible idea. What are you doing?" But it's always great to make sure we're asking people. So thank you, everyone, for being part of the discussion today. And I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Do take care.